Okay, so today we've got quite a long journey ahead of us. We've got about 180 miles to go from Coventry to Middlesbrough. Now what I want to do is I want to see if we treat the battery like a 24 kilowatt hour Leaf, whether we can get away with avoiding any temperature issues during charging. So what this means in practice is I've put in a charging stop about every 50 miles, which should hopefully simulate roughly what we'd get in terms of a 24 kilowatt hour Leaf. Now, one slight problem I have with this experiment is I've currently only got about 30% in the battery, so our first charge is probably going to have to be a decent charge, which may ruin the experiment right from the outset, but we'll give it a try. So I've got the charging stops I'll put a screenshot up of what I'm planning here, but basically we're going to stop at a Holiday Inn just before the motorway. And then we're going to stop at travel services and then at ferry bridge services. So it's about a 6 miles to the first charger at Holiday Inn. Then we're looking at about 50 miles and another 50 miles. And then I think the last leg is about 70 miles home. Of course, it doesn't matter if that leg's longer because we're not going to be charging again after that. Let's go and get in the car and we'll see what we can get sorted. Okay, so we're in the car. It's 9:15 AM now. The first charger we want to use, according to PlugShare, has someone on it who's going to be there for at least the next half hour. So I'm going to take this opportunity to go get some breakfast, and then hopefully by the time we've eaten, they'll be either finished with the charger or nearly finished with the charger, and we'll be able to get our first charge. Actually, before we do, let's get some things reset. So we're going to reset trip computer A, reset trip counter B. We've got 30 miles in the battery at the moment. It estimates 45 miles. We're only going 5 miles up the road before we charge, so it's probably not hugely relevant. Let's reset computer 1 and computer 2. Okay, right, that's all zeroed out. We'll also do a quick temperature reading. So we are at the battery center point at the moment, which is interestingly warm. It was a warm day yesterday. I think the car showed it getting up to about 27 degrees. It's currently 20 degrees now at say 20 past 9 in the morning. Let's have a look at what LeafSpy says. Okay, so LeafSpy is showing a maximum battery temperature of 27.4 degrees. So we do have a warm starting point, which again probably isn't going to massively help us with what we're planning to do today, but all the more reason for us to try and keep the temperature down. Let's go get some breakfast and we will then go and use that first charger. Okay, so we are at the charger at Coventry Holiday Inn. It was surprisingly hidden, but very luckily a Kona driver came out to tell me where the charger was, which is extremely helpful, because otherwise it would take me quite a while to find it. If you are ever here at the Coventry Holiday Inn, remember not to go into the main car park. It's actually in the overflow car park around the back. So don't drive through the car park barriers. Okay, so battery temperature is at the center point, 26% in the battery. We're pulling 43 kilowatts at the moment. Hopefully that will ramp up a little bit. According to LeafSpy, battery temperature is 28.6 degrees. So he reckons we'll be at 75% in about 26 minutes. I'm going to give it maybe 35 minutes and then we'll get going. That was the Kona driver, just making sure I got to the charger okay. So yeah, thanks again if you are watching this video. Really appreciate your help today. Right then, so I'm going to get some food and we will come back in a minute. Okay, so we've got 87% in the battery, so we're going to unplug now. We had a peak charge rate of 45 kilowatts, which is now tapered off to 22 kilowatts. Battery temperature is 2 notches above the center point, which is 2 notches below the first red mark. According to LeafSpy, that means we are at, once LeafSpy updates, 43.4 degrees. So our temperature has shot up. So this experiment might not work as well as I'd hoped, but it should help us keep the temperature down regardless. So just as a reminder, our next stop is going to be Tibshelf Services, which is
44 miles away from here. So according to the Drive Computer, we averaged 4.2 miles per kilowatt hour and we travelled 6 miles. It's showing now in 3 minutes an average speed of 5 miles an hour. It's because I forgot to do it when we pulled in, so that those last 2 bits are kind of useless. Either way, I'll reset these before we head off. In the meantime, let's go get unplugged. We're at 88% now. So let's see how we get going. I'll give you another temperature reading just before we leave. Okay, right, so yeah, just to give you a temperature reading now that we have unplugged, just so it's as up to date as we possibly can be. 43.6 on there, which I think is still going to be the same position on here. Let's have a look. Yeah, so still 2 notches below that first red mark. So let's get on our way. See you in 44 miles. Okay, so we stopped here at Travel Services. We've got an out of service Ecotricity machine here, which appears to be on Freevend. So yeah, we'll get a charge here. We've got 53% still left in the battery. We are still 2 notches below the first red mark. Leaf Spy says our battery temperature at the moment is 44.4 degrees. So we'll get plugged in. I don't think we'll need to be here very long, maybe 15-20 minutes. We'll get up to maybe 75% and get on our way. Right, so we'll get plugged in and we'll see what rate of charge we're pulling. Okay, so we're charging, we're pulling 32 kilowatts and it reckons in 15 minutes we'll be at 75%. So we'll get to 75-80%, we'll stop and we'll get on our way. Right, see you in a bit. Okay, so we've got a charge up to 80%. We're at the first red mark, sorry, 1 notch below the first red mark on the temperature gauge. According to Leaf Spy, battery temperature is showing as 49.4 degrees, so we're pretty warm already. I'm surprised we're not at the first red notch. I suppose that's 50, isn't it, that first red notch? So 1 square below that. But yeah, 49.4 on Leaf Spy. So 49.4 on Leaf Spy there. Right, so we're going to get going. Our next stop is Ferrybridge Services, which is, let's see how far away that is, 58 miles from here. When we get to Ferrybridge, we'll put in enough charge to get home. The final leg of the journey is about 70 miles. So yeah, we'll probably need to get back to a decent level. But again, you know, 80-90%, I'm sure we'll be fine. Right, I'm going to end the video here. We'll get going on the next segment of our journey. One thing to quickly add, just while we get going, the outside temperature is 27 degrees at the moment, which is probably not helping our battery temperature overall. But yeah, I just thought I'd add that quick note. Right, off we go. Okay, we've arrived at Ferry Beach Services. We have got 35% left in the battery. I forgot to reset the drive and trip counters again. So since the stop before last, we've done 101.2 miles, an average of 4.1 miles per kilowatt hour over the last 2 legs. The battery temperature at the moment is, let's have a quick look, 1 notch below the first red marker, which according to LeafSpy, once it cycles round, is 48.7 degrees. So we'll get plugged in. I reckon we'll probably pull 36, 38 kilowatts on this charge, but we'll see what we get. Maybe 32. Either way, we'll get plugged in and we'll see what it gives us. Okay, so we're pulling 25 kilowatts at 48.4 degrees. So I'm going to stop. I'm going to give the car 5 minutes to cool down and we'll start it again. Hopefully we'll have cooled down sufficiently to get a slightly faster rate of charge. That said, with 25 kilowatts, it reckons from 36 to 75% is 35 minutes. But I reckon we can get a faster speed if we just have a little bit of patience. So we're going to stop the session early. We'll set a timer for 5 minutes. And then we will try that again. Okay, it's 28 degrees outside, but by waiting 5 minutes, we've managed to get the temperature down to 47.9 degrees Celsius. Well, it's ticking between 48 and 47.9, so I'm going to give it a couple more minutes at the lower temperature. Turn the aircon on full blast for about another 30 seconds or so. When I see 47.8, and then we'll go plug in. I reckon it'll be another minute or so. Okay, right, 47.8. Right, so let's go plug in and see if we can get a faster rate of charge. Okay, so charge has started. It's now showing 47.7 degrees Celsius on a LeafSpy. It now reckons 32 minutes, so we're pulling 27 kilowatts. So it's not really that much of an improvement waiting a couple of minutes. I think that's more because we weren't close to one of the boundary temperatures, really. But yeah, we're pulling 27 kilowatts. We'll wait for about half an hour. Well, we'll get back up to 80%. So probably be here about 35 minutes. And then we'll get back on our way. Okay, so we are at 80%. We've got 128 miles on the GOM, although LeafSpy reckons 115 to 5%. More than enough to get home. The temperature, according to LeafSpy, is now 54.0 degrees, or 54.1 degrees. That's just tipped us into the first red notch on the inbuilt battery display. Charging speed is still pulling 26 kilowatts, even at 81%. So, although we've been throttled, we've had a consistent charge speed throughout. We haven't throttled as we've got past 50% yet. I am going to unplug now because we've got enough to get on our way. So yeah, we'll unplug and we'll reset the computers and we will get going. Okay, so we've arrived home at 23% in the battery, 37 miles left on the GOM. We travelled 68.8 miles. Quite a varied mix of driving. We did most of the motorway at an indicated 74, which was an actual 70. Just because it was the last leg and I thought I could get away with it. That was tempered by, on some of the A roads, well, for most of the A roads, we were stuck behind various tractors most of the way home, which meant the actual speed varied anywhere from kind of 20 to 50 depending on what was going on. So it was quite a varied speed journey. But in terms of battery temperature, we are now back at the first red mark, so we have lost a block. We did keep that first red block for most of the journey home, but it seems to have just cleared. And on LeafSpy, our temperature is showing as 53.3 degrees Celsius. So I think if we'd started with a cooler battery, we probably would be in a better position now. And I think if we weren't managing it the way we were today, you'd probably find that the second charge we did today probably would have been really heavily restricted, and we would have needed much more time on that charger as well. This could have been done in maybe 1 stop, or more likely 2. 3 was probably overkill. but I do think it helped us with that final charge. So there's a couple of things to bear in mind here to what we've done today, because it's not a completely fair test. Certainly the temperature outside is hotter than it usually is. It's currently 27 degrees out at 3 in the afternoon. We also didn't start with a battery at 100%. We started with 30% in the battery, and we did a big first charge. And that's what, we started with our temperature halfway. So we didn't have a low starting temperature. We didn't have anything much in the battery to start with. And it's a really warm day. So I think, given all of those days, we've done quite well. But I do think it is important to manage the battery. I'd like to do the same test again with a cooler battery and with 100% starting. So we'll see if we can catch that on a future video. Because I do think we can probably keep it out of the red, well, quite away from the red, if we are more sensible with how we charge. Obviously today was an unusual set of circumstances. We're on the way home from EVs in the park. So, you know, I didn't have the opportunity of being at 100% from the start of the journey. But yeah, anyway, I hope that was at least a somewhat interesting video. If you did like it, please remember to like and subscribe. And yeah, I guess I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.